On this episode of Unleash Your Audacious Confidence, I talked to Dr. Sarah Breen, who is a wife, a mother of two boys, a pediatrician, and recently took a position as the COO of BrEpic Network. How does she do it all? Stay tuned to find out.
The City of Miami Gardens presents JITG Music Fest featuring Maxwell, DeVito, Summer Walker, Jasmine Sullivan, Babyface, Kirk Franklin, Omarion, Jeezy, Scarface, Tink, Eric Bellinger, Tamia, Jaheim, DJ Cassidy's Pass the Mic Live, Marsha Ambrosia, October London, and more artists to be announced. Hosted by Jess Hilarious and Ricky Smiley. March 9th and 10th at Hard Rock Stadium. For tickets, visit jazzinthegardens.com.
Welcome to Unleash Your Audacious Confidence on Win-Win Women TV. This show is all about sharing the tips, tools, and techniques that will allow you to step boldly in the direction of your dreams despite your feelings, fears, or past failures, to imagine what's possible for yourself and live the life you deserve. Well, hello, and welcome to this episode of Unleash Your Audacious Confidence here on Win-Win Women TV. I'm your host, Alicia Couri, and I'm excited for you to be here and join us today because we have an amazing guest to share with you. And before I bring her up, I just want to encourage you to go to winwinwomen.com, check out all the different show hosts that we have sharing their knowledge and their expertise with you on a multitude of topics. And if you want to be a show host yourself, you can go to redcarpetceo.com. That's our website. And if you scroll up, you'll see the big Win-Win Women logo, and you can click on that and you can join Win-Win Women and have your own show. So if you're a woman, an expert in some field that you want to have your own show, go check out redcarpetceo.com, click the link for Win-Win Women, and come join us and have your own show. Also, if you're not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Not just this show. We don't just have this show on our channel, but we also have our podcast, which is Leading with Audacious Confidence, that shares tips about leadership and how you can boost your confidence in your own leadership journey. So go check out our YouTube channel. It is youtube.com/@AliciaCouri, or you can just go to alicia360.com and connect with me on all different platforms. And when you go to alicia360.com, we'll give you the 7 secrets to audacious confidence. So go check that out. All right. So now that I've shared all that with you, I am ready to share our guest and our topic today, because our topic today is all about juggling motherhood and career demands. And with us today, we have the amazing Dr. Sarah Breen. Dr. Sarah, would you come join us? And we're going to talk about the courage that it takes to not just juggle motherhood and career, but in the midst of that, shifting careers. So having 2 careers and motherhood and being a wife and all the things that goes with it. So welcome to the show, Dr. Sarah. Do you prefer Dr. Sarah or just Sarah?
Just Sarah is great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. Now, we actually met through your husband. He connected with me on LinkedIn. And then we had a conversation. He's like, "You've got to meet my wife." And I'm like, "I would love to meet your wife." And so we had a conversation. I said, "You have to be on the show." Because of all the amazing things that you're doing. And, you're stepping outside your comfort zone. You're doing things that you never thought you're doing. So tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll kind of segue into the shifts that you've been making more recently in your life.
Sure. Sounds good. Well, let's see. I live in the suburbs of Chicago, and I grew up in a very standard, typical household,
Midwest.
No big issues, which is great. Midwest, exactly. Midwest, 2 sisters, mom and dad, and a dog. And, I did the whole straight line path, as I like to call it. I went to college. I decided I wanted to become a doctor. I went to medical school. And I became a pediatrician, and I've been practicing in the North Suburbs since 2011. I have two amazing, amazing boys, Jake and Chase. They're 11 and 9. And then I also have 3 dogs, which are very important to me as well. I've been practicing medicine, like I said, since 2011. Fully private practice, love working with kids, love doing what I'm doing. And then about 6 months ago, I decided that I was going to jump on board with my husband's new company as well. So, as you mentioned, I run that. I'm the COO of BrEpic Network, and I continue to practice medicine, although a little bit less, as
Right.
well as running the network, and being the most important job, which is being a mom. So
Right. So, well, since you left us there with being a mom, you were a practicing pediatrician, and as a doctor, there are certain demands of your time. Even though, as a pediatrician, more specialized, you can, I guess, you're not an emergency doctor, right? So you do have more stable hours, but it's still a demanding career. When motherhood came into your life as a pediatrician, how were you able to kind of juggle the two and not feel the guilt of being a working mother?
So that's a super interesting question. And I thought about it a lot because growing up, I always knew I wanted to work. And growing up, I always knew I wanted to be a mom. And I actually never thought about how those two things could be a problem until it happened.
Mm,
And I think about that a lot still. It's interesting that you bring that up because that was a conflict I had in my head as soon as I got pregnant was, oh, well, I work full time. I was working full time at that point, which for pediatrics is 4 days a week, plus every other weekend, plus nights, weekends, all that stuff. So I ended up hiring a nanny because, I mean, my schedule was so erratic that that was the best way to kind of have the best of both worlds. And so she worked when I worked, but in terms of handling the guilt, I would say not well. You know, it's interesting because I talk about this a lot with people, just the differences between men and women and just how we feel guilty. For instance, I didn't quote unquote have time to work out because why would I want to take more time away from my kids when I was working 4 days a week? So I just wouldn't work out because I felt so guilty leaving the house again
mm.
when I had just left to work, which talking to other men, they would say, well, I understand the words that you're saying, but no, I've never felt that way because that's not something they just go work out. Like
Yeah.
there's no working dad guilt. It's just completely different.
Do you think mom guilt is conditioned, or is it something that's like we're born with as women?
I think I think it's probably a combination. I think that no matter how things change, you still see so many things that remain the same. It's 2024 and there's still a lot of differences between men and women. Yes, men are way, I mean, and again, the gap is closing for sure. There, for the most part, men are more helpful at home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the bottom line is, and again, from myself and from other women who I talk to every day, parents,
Right,
I would
because
say
you're seeing mothers. I'm sure mothers are like the primary people that bring the primary parent, I should say, that bring the children in to see the pediatrician. So you're seeing moms a lot more
correct.
than the
So I've
dads.
had this conversation many, many times because it's just interesting to me. And the way I am is the way I am. I don't have a different personality at work or anything like that. I love to talk to people and I love to have these conversations. But the bottom line is women still do the bulk of the work when it comes to raising the children, even if they're working full time. So it can be really exhausting. And again, what suffers almost all the time is the me time for the mom.
Which is really important because you need to fill up your cup. And it took me a while to understand and well, not just understand it, because you can have like an understanding of it without practicing it. So it took me a while to start practicing it from not
Correct.
just the Yeah, I know I need to take me time. I know I need to fill up my cup and all the different euphemisms that we use for self-care, right? Um, but then
Absolutely.
it's that not being with your children when you want to be. Like your work takes you away from that. And I
Mhm.
was fortunate in that I had the choice that when my children were young, except for my last one, my two girls, because I have two girls and I have a son. My son is the last one, but I didn't work. I was at home by choice because I wanted to be that full-time parent for them. And I remember when I had to do pickups and drop-offs at school, many of the moms that I became friends with as my children started school who had to work, I was the mom now that would pick their kids. Like I was the carpool mom, right? I would pick up their kids and bring them home for them and stuff because they did not have that choice. And so it's tough because a lot of them, you know, wanted to be there to pick their kids up from school, wanted to be available for the meetings and the recitals and all the things, but they couldn't. So it's
Right.
never ending. It's never ending.
Absolutely. Yeah, and again, there's pluses and minuses to everything, of course. And I will say that I love the way that my life worked out in the sense that I was full time when they were really little. And I would say they needed someone there, but they didn't necessarily need me as much. And
Mhm.
then as they got into elementary school, I was able to drop down and go part time and work a little bit less so that I was around a little bit more. And now as they're getting toward middle school, being around even more,
Mhm.
um, I just think there's certain things that, they need you and God forbid you want to be watching them for as they get older. Um, so I do feel blessed that I'm able to do it this way because spending time with them, I mean, you just don't get it back.
Right. Yeah. You don't. Um, so let's shift a second to this new challenge that in the last 6 months, because I can't even imagine the process that your mind went through to make the decision to jump into a new career, um, joining your husband's business. Like, what was that process like in your mind? Because now you're cutting back a little bit from your work, you're with your kids, but now you're COO, Chief Operating Officer. That's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. So actually, what's funny about that is it was kind of a light switch moment. It wasn't ever thought of before. He never thought I would work. We never even discussed or thought of the possibility because, again, I have a full career that is nothing to do with anything he's doing. He and I are
Total
complete opposite,
opposites.
complete opposites. So that's what's so cool about this. And it's funny, someone had asked me before how he roped me into it. And I said, well, that would never have worked. I would never have worked for him or with him if he had said that. But all of a sudden we were at well, number one, he works with visionary entrepreneurs. And over the past few years of me being around entrepreneurs, I realized I truly enjoy being around them as well. It's been a total mind shift for me, opening my eyes, seeing a bigger world, a bigger vision for myself and for my family. So that was one piece of it. And then also just embracing the fact that we're so different. I thought my strengths and his weaknesses lined up perfectly. And so I could really help in that sense. And I said it. I said, if you think I'm crazy, that's fine. I have a job. It's okay. And he actually, well, you know him, so he's not very emotional. He actually started crying when I told him because he was so excited that I would even have thought of this. And so, yeah, it's been a whole mind shift for me because, I mean, talk about full on imposter syndrome. I've never run a company before. I've never done any of this stuff before. I just had to figure it out.
Mm, I love it. And the great thing is because you're around a lot of entrepreneurs, you know that everything's figure outable. You know that, and you're coming from that place of understanding your strengths. So let's talk about that for a second. What strengths did you know that you had that would equip you to do something like this?
So the biggest piece that I differ from my husband in is my communication skills. There are people that understand him and totally get what he's saying, and then there's most of the world. So I consider myself a translator for him. And so that is huge, the communication. Also, again, I'm organized, I have a good memory. I'm a high fact finder, I have high follow through. So, I just get stuff done. And that's
Right.
what their company had kind of started, but not really. They needed somebody to get stuff done.
To pull it together.
And totally. And honestly, I actually didn't know if I was going to like this and they were going to like me working there. I just said, listen, let's try this. If you hate me or I don't like this, I'll stop. But it's worth a try. I was bored. I was like, let's try something.
Nice. And you mentioned fact finder and follow through. So during our preview, I talked about understanding your cognitive strengths because not a lot of people really understand their cognitive strengths. And the cognitive strengths are very different than your cognitive and your affective. And so your cognitive strengths, those are those instinctive strengths that you're born with to problem solve, to strive, to do things in a very particular way. And not all of us can do things the same way. A lot of people think that we're all wired the same way and we can all do things the same way, and it's not true. And so your husband is very much that quick start, go-getter. I have an idea, let's run with it. Not great at the, getting the details and following a process. Right. You, on the other hand, you're great at getting all the details that need to be and prioritizing and then following a process of putting systems in place and putting processes in place. So he can go out and be the visionary and be that big idea thinker. And you can be the person like, all right, let's make this happen. Let's figure out if this can even work and stuff. So he and his partner are those big picture thinkers. And you are more the, the way my brain works is I see all the pieces that have to be put together for this to even work. So that's exactly how the two of you are working together now. I think that's a beautiful thing when you can not know what on earth you're doing, but rely on the strengths that you have and find success doing that. Because that's how you were really designed for success, is by following those strengths. That's great.
Exactly.
And you recently had an amazing experience. The last time we spoke, it was just before you had a trip. And share a little bit about that with us, if you don't mind. And I want to connect it to how I want to connect it. So go ahead and share a little bit about that trip.
Of course. Yeah. So Justin and I were lucky enough to be invited on an entrepreneurial week, essentially, at Richard Branson's island, Necker Island. And it was absolutely perfect. So inspiring to see. I didn't know, I obviously know who Richard Branson is. Yeah, everyone knows, but I didn't know as many of his stories as I do now. And I think the biggest thing that, there was a couple of things that I really took away from him, but, he started none of his businesses to make money. He started them to have fun. He does everything he can to have fun. That's how he lives his whole life. And as you said, sometimes he succeeds, sometimes he fails, but if he's not having fun doing what he's doing, why do it?
Not worth
That's
doing.
when he stops. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so that was huge to me. And just being at a place where he literally created the world he wants to live in. He owns, places where he wants to be. Necker Island is a social club for him. He comes out, he hangs out, he plays chess. His wife doesn't have to. That's not her personality. She hangs out in her house, and he comes out and just talks to people. And so I think about that now as kind of just creating. It's what I've been doing, right? I'm not picking between my careers. I'm not picking career over children. I'm literally creating the world that I want to live in because like, why not? You know, I think that we're so focused on this or that. We have to do this and this and this and this. But you know what? Like we can create our own realities too. And I think that's really cool. So it was very inspiring.
Oh, you did the connection for me. So
Sorry. Sorry.
you know, I love that because it's so true. We talk about, I titled this juggling,
Mhm.
motherhood, career, and life and wife and all these things, but there is an opportunity not to be juggling, but to actually create the life that you want to live and the existence that you want to live. And even if you have a little bit of mom guilt because you went to Necker Island and left your kids behind, even if there's that little twinge of, you know what, when you left them that they're safe where they are and they're taken care of, and we can go have this adventure, and then we can come back and we can share all the amazing things to help build their vision for how they want to create their life. So you're instilling something in them greater than just mom and dad went away for a week. You're coming back with ways to help them increase their vision as young men in this world. So it doesn't have to be a juggle. It can be all the things. It can be we can have all the things and enjoy it and have fun with life.
Absolutely. And I think to your point too, I mean, my kids are learning so much entrepreneurship between my husband and I now. And my younger one, especially, he wants to come with me to do different TV opportunities. He wants to learn about, both of them actually were reading the Richard Branson book together. They're learning new ways to think because why not?
Yeah.
You know how it is when they're so young, it helps them to learn different things then. So it's not so ingrained to just
Rigid.
go the straight path. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So I love that for them. And I think that it's been very beneficial, even though they did not get to come.
Yes. It enriches your life and their lives so much more when you can kind of get rid of some of the limiting beliefs that you have and the fixed mindset ways of this is how life is supposed to be, and you start creating life in the way that nurtures you and your spirit and everything else. So again, back to, you didn't feel like you had the time, or why would you take away that time from your children to go take care of yourself? It's thinking about it differently now, that I need this time to take care of myself so I can show up as a better mother, as a more fulfilled mother. And by doing that, the quality of time that I spend with them, it's not more quantitative, it's more qualitative. The time that I do spend with them is so much more enriched. And that's where you can rid yourself of mom guilt, is when you do
That's
that
a hundred
qualitative
percent,
time.
100% agreed. Because look, it's funny, even people who have said to me since Necker Island, I've come back a different person. But think about, I mean, exercise is a huge part of my life now. So I work out every day. And I need it. I am a way better mom when I take care of myself. I mean, like you said, there's all of the things that everyone says, right? You got to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you do your kids. And we all know that. But until you actually take time to do that, it's 100% true. I'm way nicer to everybody if I work out.
Right. Right. We have to look at it in practice. So we can say all these things. And then when we look at our lives, are we actually doing it? Are we actually putting these things into practice where it is enriching us and renewing our souls? I mean, unlike you, I don't like to work out, but I do it because I know that it's better for my health, it's better for my body, especially having already had been diagnosed with breast cancer, and I was already a healthy person. I was running every day. I was eating what I thought was healthy. But then I realized that the things that I was actually doing was, in some instances, creating more havoc in my body because I didn't understand what my body actually needed. So I hired a health coach. I had a hormone health coach. She's a functional medicine, functional nutritionist. And so she was able to help me understand that running every day, even though, like I said, I'd hated doing it, I got up and I did it because I'm like, I have to be fit. Gotta go and do it. It was not the right thing for my body. So you also have to understand. So it's not just the working out, but it's also educating yourself on what's the right thing for you to do to nurture your body and take care of your body. So I don't run anymore, but I walk 1.5 miles every day. So I used to run 3/4 of a mile. And people would ask me, why 3/4 of a mile? Why not a whole mile? I said, because it took me around the block, the long way around my block and back to my house. If I had to run a full mile, I would have to go past my house. Like, no.
Just 1.5 miles, right?
So now I walk a little bit further. I walk around because I have to walk at least 25 minutes a day. So I do the walk thing. And I'm getting to like it now because I can put in a podcast, I can listen to something and enrich my mind while I walk. I can listen to my Bible and I can listen to things in that walk time instead of just go, 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 which is what I used to be.
Right. Absolutely.
So you learn how to do things differently too for yourself that will nurture yourself and not just take you down the wrong path because you think that's what should work. So, so anything else you want to share about this topic on, kind of creating the best life for yourself?
I think the biggest thing is to, a couple things. One is to go with your gut. And, like our new friend Richard says, just have fun, make sure you're enjoying. I know everyone doesn't have the same opportunities. Not everyone can jump into their husband's business with having a backbone of, medicine behind you.
Right.
But I do think that people need to think bigger picture and, look at different options. And I think there are a lot of people who are stuck doing things just because it's easier than finding something else. And it's just, life is short. I mean, if you truly don't like what you're doing and there's an option to do something else, there isn't a reason not. I mean, again, I'm 41 years old. I hit 40 and I was like, I feel like I should just do something new. Why not? So,
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
like the age it kind of hits you.
it did, and it's so funny because even a year ago, I was in a completely different place in my life, mentally, physically. I mean, everything was different. So
Yeah.
things can change really quickly, for better or worse, of course. But again, I think, you have to be happy with what you're doing. Your kids will notice if you're happy with what you're doing, that's for sure.
Mhm.
And if you want to, benefit them, obviously it helps them to see you doing what you like, especially as a mom. I think they're so used to dads, and again, this is generalization, but dads, going off to a job they like and mom's kind of picking up the pieces. And, I think it really helps them to see you as a mom, going with your strengths and doing what you want to do and what makes you happy. And again, it definitely makes you a better mom too. They see a difference.
Yeah. So there are three things as you were talking that popped into my head. Number one is understand your strengths. So if you don't understand your cognitive strengths, please reach out to me, Alicia360.com, and I'll help you discover what those are. Because was that something Justin said that you needed to do? To
Oh,
take the
he's
Colby?
really big on testing. Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I've had
You've
my
taken
Colby done.
everything,
I've taken all the tests. It makes
all the
he
assessments. Yeah.
relates better to people once he knows what their strengths are. So even the love languages, he needed me to take that one so he could
Right.
know, how to talk to me. So yeah, yes, I've taken all the tests.
All the things, right. So that's one. The second thing, yeah, because when I had a conversation with him, he's like, I really had no idea that she would ever do something like this. Like come work with us. So that kind of blew his mind. So sometimes it's just, again, like you said, going with your gut and just asking. There may be an opportunity that you want to step into that you're not sure about, but ask yourself. And then the third thing is to surround yourself with people that you want to be like, right? Surround yourself
That
with
is huge.
people that could give you a
Yes.
bigger vision and see things in a different way. Instead of this group think, sticking around the same people all the time, expand your horizons and be around people that think differently and do things differently. And that can expand your horizon for where you can be.
That is a huge point. Yes. Number three, it's all about who you're around. I mean, I never, without being around entrepreneurs, it never would have even crossed my mind. I mean, one person literally said to me, you need to think bigger. I know Justin, I know how he thinks. You're thinking too small. And that was one of the first triggers that weekend that changed my life. So you
Wow.
never know who's going to say something that changes your life.
Yeah. Wow. Well, we have run out of time. Can you believe that? I mean, this is such a great conversation. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us today for this. And I just want to encourage people, don't put limitations on yourself. Be bold and be brave. And every day, even if it's just one thing, do one thing to step out with audacious confidence. And until next time, I'm Alicia Couri, and I will see you on the next episode of Unleash Your Audacious Confidence. Don't forget, on Fridays, we replay this on our YouTube channel. So go ahead and check out and subscribe to youtube.com/Alicia Couri. All right, everyone. See you next time. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you so much for having me.